Back in 1839, an immigrant named John Sutter received land in the Sacramento Valley from the Mexican government. He built a thriving oasis there that was Sacramento's earliest establishment. Let's go there now and meet some present-day pioneers.
Here we are, and the weather is 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are in California, near Sutter's Fort. I knew that. The year is 1849. I knew that. What is it? Okay, 1848 is the real year. I was just kidding about the first one. Well, she knows everything. Why doesn't she do the newscast? Because she's so smart.
Well, thank you. I am. Anyways, the gold rush started in 1828. Here we are in front of John Sutter's fort. When gold became popular, many miners left the fort in search for gold.
This fort used to be called New Helvetia, which meant New Switzerland. Ha! I knew that part.
At least I knew it better.
Well, I said it first.
Whatever. This is smarter.
Well, you know what? I just... Weirdo! Psychopath! Well, you're one! I told you that before! Cut! As we entered the fort, it didn't take us long to figure out what our first stop was going to be.
Let's go into Sutter's Fort kitchen to see how a cobbler is made. We didn't see any microwave oven in this kitchen, just a big fireplace. What are you doing here today?
Well, I'm Mrs. Brown, and I'm helping General Sutter feed the workers in the fields today. So I have planned a menu for our lunch today, and we are roasting beef in the hearth here. We're boiling spring potatoes and carrots, and we'll be adding some green beans to them. Also, I'm preparing to make a peach cobbler and cornbread, and that should be all ready about dinner time, which is about 1 o'clock.
So how many people would you cook for?
They could cook for up to 200 a meal. It just depended on the time of year and the availability of food. So I have my peaches that I canned last spring, preserved, and we're putting that in the pan.
Peaches? Now that's what I'm talking about.
I have a mixture of flour and some fat, sugar, salt, baking soda, baking powder, and that's all here in my cobbler top. And then I will sprinkle that over the peaches, and all this juice from the peaches and the butter that I'm going to put on top is going to make this into a cobbler. So it's going to be a little bit cakey, a little bit crunchy, and a whole lot yummy.
Then Mrs. Brown took the yummy goodness in the pan and placed it into something they called a Dutch oven.
Place my cobbler in the oven, and we'll check in about 5 minutes and see how the fire's doing.
But the biggest thing we noticed?
This is fresh food.
To eat and put in your mouth.
I've been wondering, how did people from back in the old days turn corn into cornmeal for things like bread and cornbread? Well, we'll find it out at the millstone. What are you doing today?
Well, this is our grist mill. This is where we grind up the wheat and make flour. Would you like to see how that's done? Well, we have some grain here. And as you can see, this is what the wheat looks like when it comes off the stalk. Okay? And we're going to put it in the pot here. So since we don't have an ox here, we're going to have to use you two as our oxen. Okay? So come around this side. And as you watch as you're going along there, you'll start seeing the flour coming out. See it falling out there?
Oh, yeah. It's easy.
Now, the rest of us are going to wait here until you get enough flour for us to make some bread, okay? It'll take about a half hour.
I'm going to push finish this thing for a half hour?
Okay, you can stop now. You can see. We made.
Time to make some bread.
There you go.
How did Sutter's Fort protect itself in the old days? With the 4-pound cannon. That's right. We watched a real demonstration of Sutter's 4-pound cannon. This cannon was the largest cannon in California at that time and the only cannon in California that has wheels on it and could be transported.
Cannon go boom! Cannon go boom! Boom, 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 boom!
Yes, it's always fun when you can blow things up.
Then we visited a lady who was making cool things from beaver hide. Whoa, that's so cool!
Well, it's actually a beaver pelt. The trappers here at Sutter's Fort would trap the beavers, and then they would stretch them out on a stick sticks like this, so they could dry, and then they would be sent off to Europe to make beaver pelt hats out of.
How would you make a hat?
They would take the coarse guard hairs out here and use the soft fur underneath to make hats like this. You guys want to touch it?
This is a real beaver skin hat. Doesn't it look nifty?
Hey, bring my hat back!
And to my surprise, I was able to talk to John Sutter himself in his own private office, although he did look very familiar. Are you John Sutter?
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. I heard you made Sutter's Fort in 1840.
Yes, I did.
How big is it?
The walls are 2.5 feet thick.
Okay, and one more question. What is your opinion on Sutter's Fort?
I think it is the real wealth of California
Why?
because of the grapes and wheat as crops and large herds of cows.
What? Awesome. Looks like we ran out of time. See you next time on
Who's that famous person?
Do you want to go to Sutter's Fort and learn how the Donner Party and the Reed family traveled from Independence, Missouri to Sacramento, California?
They had many different routes to travel by. They chose Mr. Hastings' route. This was a very dangerous route. It was very narrow. It had many rocks, and you were taking a risk if you chose this route. Traveling with the Donner Party, Patty Reed brought a doll named Dolly, and she is on display over here at Sutter's Fort. This is a replica of what it looks like. Let's go see what it really looks like.
Okay.
One thing's for sure, they sure don't make dolls like they used to.
This is a replica of an 1846 wagon. A pioneer family rode a wagon like this on their 2,000-mile journey to Mexican California, filled with up to a ton of stuff.
Yes, we saw a lot of cool stuff here at Sutter's Fort. Like Crystal, who was able to start a fire without a match.
And the bastion where they kept the cannons.
We met a trapper who wore a coat made out of real buckskin and a tarpaulin hat made of canvas.
Yeah, we sure had a lot of fun the day we visited Sutter's Fort.
But the best part was when we went back to Mrs. Brown and got a taste of beef, vegetables, and homemade peach cobbler.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Thanks for visiting us at Sutter's Fort. Boom, boom.